look at the power of a song called a national anthem. The way people get emotional, and all sorts of things like. Songs have changed political situations. Like there's another example, that'd be that song, that great song, "We Shall Overcome." When that came out, it just spread around the English speaking world like wildfire, and it stood for lots of meanings. People holding demonstrations completely different from each other. You can't overestimate the power of a song, can you?
No.
I mean, the human being is musically inclined even in the womb, because the first thing they're listening to in the womb is the heartbeat of their mother. So they have a beat, you have a beat, your own heartbeat, and music is an extension of the heartbeat.
When did you really take the singing seriously, or when did you start collecting songs?
I'll tell you this, Donal, I don't take singing seriously anytime. But what I do take seriously is listening. I don't take myself seriously. I know it's a serious business, things are serious business, but I don't take the whole thing seriously. But I take listening to someone seriously, and the songs I take seriously.
Me too.
I wouldn't be precious about it. I'd never.
Hi Ian.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise, you keeping well?
Good.
How you doing?
Alright.
Was it all downhill?
It is mostly, Welcome to Dublin. I was down, had to drop a letter off, it seems to be up the roads from Grange Corman. I was dropping off a letter to I had an elderly neighbour there, but his brother died last year, so it's down his own.
Have I met this Donal chap before, do you think?
I'm not sure now, I don't know. Like I was saying the other day, he used to have a television show, didn't he?
Did.
Disco. He had a radio show for a while as well. He's around a good while now.
There's a younger generation going around today, they want the real thing, They've come to realise that a lot of the stuff that they're being presented with on television, like this X Factor and all that, they're like clones out of some sort of a, singing factory.
I know.
And I'm not condemning the young boys and girls that are on it, they're doing their best. But it's the type and all that sort of thing, type of singing, and there's no real substance in the songs, And there is a reawakening that young people want, and they want to hear ordinary people singing, and they're beginning to realise that they can sing themselves. I'm constantly amazed at the talent of ordinary people, to hear people. And it's very, very encouraging, I have to say. I was never more encouraged in the last 10 years than I am now.
Brilliant.
Yeah, honest to God. My love's
Was it your mom or your dad or either of your grandparents, did they sing, or where did you hear it?
Well, I never heard my grandparents singing, but my mum and dad did. You see, as I was saying, he had a large family, and they'd come down maybe twice a month. One of the brothers or two of the brothers would come down, and when the others heard it, they'd be down too. And sometimes a hoolie would just start, they'd go over and get the stout, whatever, a dozen of stout and that, and there'd be a sing-song. And then there were the annual hoolies, celebrating. They come down for the Christmas, or they be down at Easter time and all that. Pubs in Ringsend, as it was around in the city, there were sing-songs. Once Friday night came, working men had the weekend off, there'd be sing-songs in the pubs on Friday night, Saturday night and Sunday night. In McDermott's, sometimes there was 3 sing-songs going at the one time. But there was a lot of fierce drinking went on. That really unbelievable drinking went on in the working classes at that time, But when I was growing up now, I was born in 1940. When I was growing up in Ringsend, and this would be any parish in Dublin's inner city, and it's probably the same down the country, At the weekend, you'd see men rolling home from the pub drunk. My dad as a result of that, my dad drank very, very little. I saw him in my lifetime only twice in a pub.
Really, yeah.
And once was to get me out of it.
When the Lord of the castle he came in, all inquiring for his lady. Oh, she is gone, said the young serving boy. She's away with the dark-eyed gypsy. Oh, come saddle to me the milk-white steed. The bay is ne'er so steady. Oh, I will ride all the day and the whole long night till I find my own wedded lady. Oh, and at certain times of the year, Christmas or gatherings for christenings or funerals, things like that, that was the main way that people had of getting on and passing time, was singing, and just singing to get along with each other. A real communal kind of singing, any time any members of my family get together, that's so they're just singing for the enjoyment of it, for the crack, and just going around, there's everyone having a turn at doing something, for certain families, I think, and certain groups of people, it's the done thing, and there's nothing special about it, they wouldn't sit around thinking about it even or trying to analyse it. It's just the done thing. It's the way they get along together. I think it's great that people still have that, you're talking about the kind of changes that have come around in society, and singing, I think in particular, has become a much more specialised kind of thing, where almost you have to be a professional to even consider doing it, which is the opposite of what it should be.
Good singing, if the person can get the story over, and grab your attention, it doesn't matter to me if they're not a great singer, but if they're able to get their story across, and whatever way they chew in their own manner, and they do that, to me that's a good singer. Whether they're
the communication is
communication.
It's an important part of the delivery.
Because at the end of the day, what's a song? Only a storytelling.
Yeah, right.
It's a little short story.
The dark-eyed gypsy. Oh.
But basically keeping people in the homes that they have is so critical, because if we stop people becoming homeless, that could be so important in terms of the cost of the exchequer and the stress and strain on people, remembering that this is people's lives, this is, they're living day to day under this huge stress and pressure.
How might you do that? Would that be dealing with landlords, particular tenants? Would it be dealing
with Marmalade, the cobra when he's found? The second teddy boy had murder in his eye. I intend to see the bastard pays the price. Our 3 points is missing since we was out in the toilet. So what happens to our victim won't be nice. The third was having saying, as he clutched his cycle chain, the guilty one had got their own up, or we'll tear the hero apart from his gizzard to his heart, the dirty, ungrateful mannered pup. You might think you're smoking. We have one of the largest bodies of folklore. We have the largest body of folklore, I think, in Europe, and one of the largest in the world, despite the fact that the famine halved the population of the country. Can you imagine what was lost, those that died, and still, despite the famine, we have the largest body of folklore. There's a very, very rich literary tradition in this country, and poetic tradition.
Do you find that, Ian, with I suppose I mean, we're talking pride here in our country and in our people, but there is something there that I suppose maybe it's to do with being an island or whatever, but we have, a strong tradition of kind of like entertaining ourselves.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think because we never really had a richness in in material culture. If you look at our buildings or even fashion-wise, fashion in our, it's like just what people were doing in other places 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But where we do make up for it is in the ability to kind of, if we're surrounded by kind of drab surroundings, to kind of make up for that by the stories that we tell each other and by songs and poetry, like that side of things.
It's also the aspects of it. You have, it's like your hand, you have the singing tradition, you have the poetic tradition, you have the music tradition, you have the dancing, and you have the folklore. And in this country anyway, I don't know about anywhere else, but they're always closely connected, and you come across them in the one place. You could be in this where we're sitting now on Sunday night or Saturday night, you'll see some people getting up and doing a bit of dancing, or someone will get up and do a recitation. There's music, and it's still very much, they're like the hand, the fingers are part of the one thing in Ireland. They're not separate things.
Well, as sure as Mick McDermott is me name. Then he grabbed himself a bench and says he, unhand that wench, or as true as God I'll give you all a whack. Well, it was over in a minute. There was really nothing in it. He flattened their 3 boils with one swing. And in the midst of consternation, he said, "No to ring the station. 'Tis me duty to report this sort of thing." Well, that's about a lot. Except, of course, the Mott. Sure, we never see her now around the flats, because she married Gord McDermott, and they've a house in Ballyfermot, and they're raising up a bunch of culture brats. And for the wicked life of the crime, the Teds are doing time. They're breaking stones and they're cleaning prison delf. And he never did find out who drank their pints of stout. Sure, the guilty one was none other than myself. I didn't think I'd get through
it. We've been talking about how, within the country we definitely feel like there's been a reawakening, but do you find that has extended, to other places? Is there that reception for that, what you're doing, or do you find that there's a new generation that are open to that, or have a feeling for it? In the UK and Scotland, or in
it depends
England?
on the place, to be honest. Like in some areas that we play in, definitely in Scotland. So we've been to Glasgow and Edinburgh quite a lot in the last while, and that's very much, I'd say it's a similar kind of scenario there. There's a lot of young people playing the music, lots of young groups, people playing Scottish traditional music, and they're into the songs as well. Obviously the very big singing tradition in Scotland. So up there for certain. In some parts of the UK, say Manchester, Leeds, different parts of Yorkshire, down in Bristol and some places, there's really kind of, a lot of young people into it, and there's a kind of sense that it's a kind of a cool thing somehow. Or
the likes of Tom Munnelly would say, like, the tradition never died in Ireland. You had to go looking for it though.
Yeah.
It was swamped by popular music, and there were so many new diversions came into people's lives. But behind it all, and at the back of it all, there was a hard core of it still existed. It was all bald spots and wrinkles and beards, and all of a sudden, to me it was all of a sudden. It obviously wasn't happening suddenly, but there was a flowering of interest among people of Ian's age group and younger, and it just seemed to come out of nowhere. But obviously it didn't. They were taking an interest.
Because there's something, we talk about the pure drop, and Luke, you were talking about that kind of that people want the real thing, you know, that they know what's real, and they can kind of discern between the fabricated thing, which, you know, there's so much of, and then the real thing. But if you're in the real thing when you're being, I suppose your senses are being formed, you're in a great position there to really know what's what and to kind of discern between.
Well, it's just, it only started out when the recession kind of kicked in, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember going to sessions around 2008, 2009, and it was just like, I mean, nobody had any jobs, there was no work going on, everyone was on a session every night, everyone was playing loads of music, and they're all out singing the whole, you know. It was kind of, I mean, during the years when the Celtic Tiger kicked in, there was so much of ourselves that we gave away and we kind of discarded, and it was like, well, you know, all of a sudden, all these kind of, like, old buildings around town, from that kind of thing all the way down to our own singing and different aspects of our own culture became almost like an embarrassment, you know what I mean, it's something to be hidden away.
I think we had probably a sufficient audio and a highly visual kind of audio experience there with the two faces that we were looking at, so no visuals today. No contrived stuff. Pure drop.
An old bachelor farmer with a field for a bride, reneged on the flesh, put pleasure aside, to engage mortal combat on a lonely hillside, with briars and bog cotton for neighbours. Son of green wellies passes normal attire for formal occasions, or pulling sheep from barbed wire. For sartorial elegance he held no desire to waste money hard earned from his labours. On overcoat Sundays he'd ramble alone on stony wet ground, where he'd winter wheat sown, and his coat like his heart buttoned close to the bone, while he dreamt on the 15th of August. 'Twas the one day a year he'd go wild if inclined, he'd go on the tear, and he sport with mankind. His mothball tweed suit he would gladly recruit to dine out with Bacchus and Venus. A Guinness label tax disc on the Cambridge he'd risk. He'd fill up the tank with a red diesel mix, with dreams of black porter and the shopkeeper's daughter, whom with luck might consent to his ardour. 'Twas 70 it was average for men, and his hourglass had less than a quarter to spend. The long sleep would come soon, just as sure as the moon hung over that great lump of water. With his hair brill cream down like a jewel on his crown, he'd a gimp of a man who was out on the town, well steamed with the jar. Sure he needn't go far to find him a lady he fancied. But the lass of his choice, she never had a man's voice, and she answered to Paddy, not Nancy or Joyce. So like a dog in trap one, the old farmer was gone, like a ship in full sail, bound for Swansea. So it's back to the silage, the sheep dip the dung, the hungry cold mountain where the thrush never sung. At least on the hill he knew a ewe from a lamb,
and he'd cancel the 15th of August. An old bachelor farmer with a field for a bride reneged on the flesh, put pleasure aside, to engage mortal combat on a lonely hillside, with briars and bog cotton for neighbours. There you are now.
Oh, thanks so much.